Hey guys, Nathan Lusk here, and I wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about a new game, MMA Card Game by Rick Pittman. It is really cool, and I don't want this to take very long because, I don't want to talk your ear off, and I'm kind of known for that sometimes. But let me start off with this. I was pleasantly surprised when I finally got around to getting to be able to play this game. I got it a while ago so that I could play with this demo version and, give my opinion and be able to kind of review the game. And I just didn't have time when I first got it. When I finally got around to it, I got it all out and started thumbing through it. And here's what I was afraid of. It's a game where you and an opponent fight as MMA fighters against each other. There are 4 different styles of fighters you can be. The ground and pound specialist, the Muay Thai specialist, the brawler, and the tap out artist. And I thought to myself, how can a simple card game bring what feels like an authentic MMA fight with nothing but, a deck of cards? And I was really afraid that it was going to be a really tough thing to do. And I was very surprised at how well they pulled it off. Here's why. Each of these decks is specifically built to make you feel like you are the fighter that you've chosen to be. For instance, the ground and pound guy, his deck is designed to help you counter your opponent's takedowns, because most of your ground and pound guys came from a wrestling background in MMA, let's be honest. And so their job is to not be taken down themselves, but to then take their opponent down where they have the advantage and beat them into submission. They're generally pretty good standing fighters. They have good strength, and they're able to use that part of their game effectively. But their real specialty is once they get the fight to the ground, they can really do more damage there. They're generally pretty good at chokes once they're on the ground. That's their main submission style. And there are a couple of wrestling holds too, obviously, that they can use. But it was weird how well they captured it. And let me explain to you why. This fight takes place in 3 different ways. It's standing, it's clenched, or it's grounded, right? Most of the time, to get to the ground, you have to clinch your opponent first and then figure out how to take them down. And the ground and pound specialist does a good job of that because he can counter a lot of his opponent's takedowns so that when he's ready to go, he can use his own. Here's a shoot single leg you can do from standing or clenched, a shoot double leg from standing or clenched to get the fight to the ground, a hip toss from the clenched. He has all these ways to get the fight to the ground, but those aren't what I was most impressed with. What I was really most impressed with, let me find the right card here, because there's one particular card that really shows this off. And it's going to be the last one I see because I pulled it out earlier because I was talking about it earlier. There it is. We all see whenever there's a takedown in MMA, whether it's UFC or Bellator or whatever other MMA companies you watch. Once the wrestler gets his opponent down and gets on top of him, he breaks him down with strikes from the top. And a lot of those strikes are a hammer fist that comes down from the top. And that's what this card is. Now you can use it standing and literally swing down to hit your opponent. And it does a little bit of damage. You can see at the bottom, it does 3 points of toughness and 5 points of stamina damage. I don't want to get into too many details, but toughness is your health. Stamina is the cards that you have left in your deck to draw. So when you do stamina damage, you lose cards. And when you do toughness, when you take toughness damage, you lose health. And once you're out of health, you lose. But it does 3 and 5 in standing. But if you've taken your opponent down and then you hit them with the hammer, it does an extra 2 toughness and 3 stamina. which is a much bigger difference. That's 8 cards that he has to get rid of in his deck from that stamina damage. Plus he's taken 5 health damage. That feels like a guy on top of you who actually knows how to do some ground and pound damage. It's not just the same deck as the other 3 guys with a couple of tweaks. It's its own deck. He does things differently, and he does the things that a ground and pound artist does better. This deck helps you play better in that style. So it really feels like you're a ground and pound artist when you choose him. When you choose the Thai kickboxer, the Muay Thai fighter, you get the same principle. Now, there's a few things we know about kickboxers, right? Because we know MMA, and that is that they don't want to get taken down. They can't use their devastating knees and elbows and kicks and punches nearly as well from the ground. In fact, they can't even use some of them on the ground. But the ones they can use are less effective. So to keep the fight from going to the ground, they have a lot of ways to do it. This one, it's called Is That All You Got? And it makes it where you counter any maneuver by your opponent just by bullying through it, being the tough guy and walking through it. Then there's Lift a Knee and Sprawl. Both of these counter any takedown that your opponent tries and ends his turn. So the reason that that's important is because ending and Is That All You Got ends the turn also. Most counters end a turn. The reason it's important to end their turn is because you only get 5 turns in every round of the fight. It's a 3-round match, and you each get 5 turns in each of those rounds. So if you end a turn, you are 20% of the way through the round. And whatever position that your opponent's turn ended in, your turn begins in. So if you, the ground and pound fighter, got into the clinch by the end of your turn, and then your opponent tries to take you down, or let's say you're the Muay Thai guy, you got into the clinch so you could use your knees and elbows, right? Because that's what you're good at. Knee to the head, right? You use the single collar tie to get it to clinching, and then you go with the knee to the head. Once you decide to try a takedown, or once your opponent counters it, that's the end of your turn. But you remain in the position you were in at the end of your turn. So if he has you in a clinch, he tries to take you down and you counter it, he has to stop playing offense, and now suddenly you get to start playing offense, and you're already in the clinch, which is really important for a guy like the Muay Thai guy. It's really important for the ground and pound guy to be in the clinch too, because that's where most of his takedowns occur. It's even important for the tap out artist to get to the clinch, because he needs the fight to go to the ground. They do almost exclusively groundwork, and so they need to be able to get to the clinch, to get to the ground, to get to the submission. And this game makes you feel like the style of fighter that you chose is the style that you're using. And I didn't think it was going to be this easy to do, but they did a great job. Rick and his team did a great job. I also want to point this out. This is a demo, okay? There might be more playable types when the real game comes out. The graphics might be different. A couple of the rules might even get tweaked. I don't know. I don't know what they have in store. He may not even sell all 4 fighters in one box. It may be 2 in one box and 2 in another. I don't know. And I don't care, because this game is good enough that I know when it hits Kickstarter, and I found out about it, I'm going to buy it. I'm backing this game 100% on Kickstarter. Granted, I'm an MMA fan. I watch UFC. I watch Bellator. I watch pretty much anything that's free on TV and has to do with fighting. And this game really captures the feel of an MMA fight better than I thought you could do outside of a video game. I've got to admit that. I like the way the UFC video games go. They're fun to play for a while. And they do capture the feel of it pretty well, even if they do get a little bit wonky for striking and some other things. But I didn't think it was something that could be captured in a card game, and I was proven wrong. They did a great job. The game feels good. It moves well. It's got a give and take, an ebb and flow to it like a real fight does, where one fighter does some damage, and looks like he's on his way to a victory, and then suddenly the other fighter kind of moves forward and takes control and begins to move the fight in his favor. And there's some back and forth in the whole thing, some give and take, where no matter how bad the situation is, you feel like you might still have a chance to win if you can just get a good draw, get the right move, and your opponent can't stop it. If they don't have the right counter for what you plan on doing, you feel like you can win in almost any moment. So hats off to Rick and his team. You guys did a great job. I see on the card, actually, it says Rick and Calvin. It was Rick that I talked to about the game. But Rick and Calvin and whoever else you guys have, you did a good job on this game. I hope to see it soon. Thanks for the demo set. I'll make sure and make it worth your while by backing it whenever I see it online and picking me up a set of the real cards. And, I always like beating up my friends. It helps that I'm bigger than they are, but this makes it where I don't have to hurt them to do it. So hats off. Thanks. Oh, and for those of you wondering, yes, I am not kidding about backing it on Kickstarter. As you can tell, I am accustomed to backing games on Kickstarter. Got a whole lot of them here. Dice Throne, Yokohama, Sheriff of Nottingham. Actually, I don't know that I backed that one on Kickstarter. Code Names. There's a whole bunch. There's 3 over there. I'm doing it. I'll see you on Kickstarter. You guys have a great one. And thanks for checking out the video. Thanks for sending me the demo, Rick and Calvin and team. And man, y'all keep it up. Let me know when it gets a little closer. And you've got a for sure backer here. Thanks, guys.